So Battle of the Ultras, this has been a requested video, and it is the Oppo Find X9 Ultra versus the Vivo X300 Ultra. Both of them are global now, and the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. Front-facing cameras here at 4K 60. Now I'm swapping over the audio sources so we can hear which one has the best audio. Now the phones are on the default settings out of the box unless otherwise stated here too. They're on the latest firmware, and I make sure the lenses are all clean. Now a small little jog here, finally, just to test out electronic image stabilization with these front-facing cameras. And let's move over to the rear now. So I'm starting out with our ultra-wide cameras, which are using electronic image stabilization. I'm in the port of Denia here. This is on the Mediterranean coast of Spain, where I shoot a lot of my videos. Many of you have noticed. Stabilization does seem good. I'll do a very slow pan. Now there's a little bit of a breeze, so we could possibly hear some wind noise, but a good test of those microphones. And they're all looking pretty good here. So main cameras now, so main on the Oppo, that's 23mm, 35mm is what we get with the Vivo. So they've kept that, and I believe it's 23 as well with the Samsung now. So the main cameras are using now optical image stabilization. You can see the 35mm definitely has a narrower field of view, is a little bit closer. What I'm gonna do is just jog slightly. This is something you shouldn't do when filming, but it's all, of course, for the purposes of the video to test the stabilization. So let's start zooming now into the castle of Denia. So let's go to the 3x camera with the Samsung. We've got 3.7 times with the Vivo, 3 times with our Oppo, and all of them are looking quite steady. I can see maybe the Vivo shaking around a little bit more, but it's a bit misleading when you look at the live preview here. So 5 times optical zoom now with the Samsung. I'll go to the preset, which is 170mm with the Vivo, and 6 times here with the Oppo. Still looking at the castle. And then 10 times with the Samsung, 10 times with the Vivo, and 10 times with our Oppo. Just looking at the castle again. Trying to hold it as steady as possible, just slightly pan now to see if that is possible without being a shaky mess. And there's the port in the background there of Denia. Now I'm going to apply some digital zoom here. We'll bring it up to 20 times on the Samsung, and that is approximately 20 times there now. On our Vivo, not looking very good. 20 times on the Oppo. Now, I wouldn't use this much digital zoom. It's not exactly amazing. In fact, sorry, the Oppo's a little bit, the Vivo's a little bit over. Now we have 20 times on all 3 of them there. Clearly one looks sharper to me than the others. And finally, let's go back to those ultra-wide cameras so you can see just how far away I really am when looking at those people then on the jet ski. Beautiful day here in Denia. Over to low light video. So these stairs here, they should look orange. I can see might not be quite as orange as the other two, the Samsung. So right now I'm with the main cameras across all 3. The ultra wides, well, they are generally terrible for video, but let's swap over to them. Not looking anywhere as good. The stability either compared to daylight, and I can see, well, a bit of the moon there. So let's go over to the zoom cameras. So 3 times with the Samsung, 3.7 times with our Oppo, sorry, with the Vivo, and then 3 times with the Oppo there. So yeah, you can't really see much of it, unfortunately. So let's go to the main cameras here. Have a little bit of a walk. See how the stability is, optical and electronic stabilization. Seems like the Vivo's having a bit of a hard time here, but what I want to do is focus too on some lights here, because lens flare, that's a big issue with a lot of phones. And we have the T-Star coating with the Vivo. Will it make a difference? So let's have a look. If we can get any of those crazy lens flares. I can see a little bit with the Vivo, and with the Oppo, the Samsung here with the light seems to be handling it the best out of all three, as I can see, it has the least amount of lens flare, so that's good. Moving over to stills now. So portraits, you can see they are all handled a little bit differently, but the best stitching you can clearly see is the Oppo. Best skin tones, more true to life, is the Oppo here, handled really well. And the Vivo overexposed. That's last place. Second place is the Samsung, but clear winner is the Oppo. Rear cameras, portrait mode, they are using their zoom cameras here, and you can clearly see there is a difference in the processing of all of these, and especially the exposure. I've noticed that the skin of my daughter here with the Samsung and the Vivo is slightly overexposed. The skin tones again are looking the best with the Oppo, and the stitching on all three of them, it's not perfect. I think the Oppo looks a little bit like my daughter's cutout. I think the stitching and the background blur with the Samsung looks the best here. And again, with this same shot, but at a different angle or same settings, we can see there's a difference again with the overexposure. There's all default settings, okay, just how it is. Samsung overexposed, slightly brighter skin tones and a little bit of skin smoothing clearly with the Vivo. Again, I'm giving the win here to the Oppo for the best portraits. Something that's very difficult is bright flowers in direct sunlight. And you can see all three of them look very similar, but looking at the white petals and focusing on some of the different shades there, you can see that I think the Oppo captures this the best, and the Vivo, the Samsung has a little bit of clipping. The green isn't quite right. The colors are more true to life with the Oppo with this particular shot. Then with the macro mode, there's no competition. Nothing stands up against the Vivo Super Macro mode here. Lovely bokeh, so the background blur, the details captured, and it isn't overexposed like the Oppo is slightly too bright. Samsung as well, struggling a little bit with some of those brighter colors. Hands down here, Vivo Super Macro mode, 1. Okay, so going through the cameras now, first up the ultra wides, you can see the colors of the Vivo and the Samsung are very similar, and that really was how I saw it. I would have to say that the Vivo with the natural preset is more accurate. I put the Find X9 Ultra on original, but it's oversaturated. It was not that blue. Same goes for the main camera. The colors are just off a little bit here, so there's some tweaking needed in these kind of scenarios here when looking at the blue sky and the ocean. So we then step it up. I took the zooms to 10 times across all three, and you can see that a little bit over sharpening with the Samsung. The Vivo is looking very good. Perhaps a little bit too much contrast, a little bit too dark on those shadows, but the Oppo looking good there because it's 10 times optical zoom. I then go to 20 times optical zoom, and the Oppo, I don't know what happened here, but a little bit of shake. It looks a bit blurry. It's falling behind now, and it is susceptible, it seems, more to any hand tremors. I tried to hold the cameras as steady as possible, but it was quite windy. The Vivo won here for me. It's the best shot. The Samsung looks a little bit artificial, and you can see some definite over sharpening there. Two more ultra-wide photos just to show you that the trend continues, that the Vivo gets the colors the best, and the Oppo slightly oversaturated. Second place, the Samsung. Another 10 times shot here, so you can see the Vivo failed with the colors. I don't know what's going on here, but the sky is completely wrong. Yes, it was a nice light blue. Now the Samsung looks artificial, a little bit over sharpened, quite a bit in fact. And then we have the Oppo, which is the complete opposite. It hasn't been over sharpened. It looks quite natural. I do prefer it, and because the colors are more correct, gets the win. Now with this 10 times shot here, again, a bit different. You can see the Samsung, yes, that's clearly last place. The Vivo looks good, a little bit too contrasty for the natural preset. And the Oppo looking more natural, and I do prefer the Oppo 10 times shot with this particular scene. And then onto low light, things start to get quite difficult. So ultra wides, not good, really, all of them. However, the best, the Vivo. It's showing that it's the sharpest there, and it also got that blue, the correct tone. Main cameras here. No, I'm not applying zoom with the Vivo. It's 35mm, remember, versus 23 of the other two phones. So it looks like I've zoomed in, but clearly the Vivo shot is looking the best. I like the way it's processed the sky. The sky's a bit muddy on the Samsung and the Oppo. The Oppo's a little too warm, this shot. It wasn't quite like that.
Over to 3 times zoom, so 3 times with the Oppo, 3.7 with the Vivo, 3 with the Samsung. And I think the Vivo shot here does look the best when you take a look at the details of the sign, the interior there, it's very good. Oppo is also great. However, stepping it up then to zoom in to 10 times, this is where you can see the textures of that window around it. Those stones are looking all washed out with the Vivo, not very good. The Samsung clearly last place. The winner with the 10 times low light photo, no surprise here, is the Oppo with its 10 times optical zoom. Now with these other shots here, you can see that the Vivo to me pulls ahead. The Samsung is last basically, but the Oppo very good with the colors in this shot particularly. And in these two here, the Vivo and the Oppo clearly ahead of the Samsung. The Samsung's falling behind, but in the moon shot, not using fake AI, and none of them were really good at this. They all look terrible. And here are my findings. So video performance, this was very easy. It was a Samsung. So the Samsung had the best stability, the best looking image, also the best microphones, least susceptible to any wind noise. And even with the zoom, even though it doesn't have the best optical zoom, it was still the best for video performance. Now with stills, this was quite easy for me too, and that was selfies and portrait shots. The Oppo clearly pulled ahead with the best looking skin tones, detail, and just more natural looking photos that I do prefer. Then we look at the main cameras now. This is a bit difficult because we have 35mm with the Vivo, so the field of view was a bit closer. And in general, those main shots did actually look better with the Vivo. I did prefer them. When we go to the zoom cameras, Vivo was very good. It would pull ahead even sometimes better than the Oppo with its 10 times optical zoom. In some scenarios, the Oppo, yes, was better. So like low light zoom, it was better, and more natural looking was say a 10 times zoom, but not always perfect. It's a little hit and miss, that camera, unfortunately. Then the low light, well, I think that went to the Vivo. It's got the T-Star coating as well, so it handled the lens flare reasonably well. Not perfect, but a lot better than the others, I feel. And in general, the low light shots would look a bit more detailed and sharper. It was only the Oppo that would take it with zoom low light photography. With the macro mode, no contest. Vivo dominated with its super macro mode. It still is the best out there, I believe. For low light video, all three of them were poor, dropping frames. I think the Oppo was slightly better, a little bit brighter, a little bit more natural, and stability certainly better in low light for low light video. So if you agree with my findings, let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.